Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today to get through this thing called life. Electric word, life, it means forever, and that's a mighty long time. But I'm here to tell you, there's something else. The afterworld. A world of never-ending happiness. You can always see the sun, day or night. So when you call up that shrink in Beverly Hills, you know the one, doctor, everything will be alright. Instead of asking him how much of your time is left, ask him how much of your mind, baby. Cause in this life, things are much harder than in the afterworld. This life, you're on your own. And if the elevator tries to break you down, go crazy, punch a higher low.
A master of pop, rock, R&B, funk, jazz, a master of generally all types of different music, Prince Rogers Nelson was one of the greatest musicians of our time. Over the course of his near 4-decade career, Prince would release a new album almost yearly, most of which showcasing the artist's invigorating talent. A good core of his releases have gone under the radar, as he slipped out of the mainstream around the mid-90s. However, he still had a very successful career in the coming decades, whether it be his iconic Super Bowl performance, fairly prominent albums in the industry such as 3121, Musicology, or Artificial Age, or just the hours upon hours of great music he would continue to create until his unfortunate passing. Prince to me is the embodiment of an artistic genius, one with a very passionate work ethic. He had a keen eye for his craft. The consistent quality matched the abundant quantity of his albums is practically unheard of. I've sat through all his studio albums a while ago, and today I will be ranking them from best to worst. However, we'd be here all day if I gave them the same level of detail or scrutiny I gave Eminem in his best to worst, so here's what I'm gonna do. I will be ranking all
39
studio albums in 3 sentences or less. This way, it'll give me an opportunity to filter through any excessive opinions I may have on each album. It'll be straightforward and to the point. I'll be counting compilations of previously unreleased material, say Crystal Ball or Old Friends for Sale, but posthumous releases won't be included. I also will not be including his remix album 2001's Raven to the Joy Fantastic, because honestly, I've heard this album plenty and there's hardly any major difference between this and Raven to the Joy Fantastic. I've also ranked these albums based on their level of consistency. If an album has many weak songs, it's going to be lower. However, say there's an album with many great songs, but 1 or 2 weak songs, it'll go higher on the list, but won't necessarily be top 10 material. The better the overall album is, the higher it'll be on the list. Personally, there's only one album of his I'd consider legitimately bad. The worst of his albums are generally boring. Nothing inherently wrong with the music or vocals, just that the songs aren't as captivating as other releases.
I got 1,000 hugs and kisses for you when you come back home, baby.
The worst thing Prince could have done: allow other people to influence his music. This is hardly a Prince album, both in the music and vocals. It just sounds like a modern pop fiasco. Just a terribly produced, awful pop album. I'd recommend this one if you're into instrumental music. It's kind of a chore, a chunk of it's a dud, but it has its moments. Really goes to show you how dedicated Prince was to his craft, whether it was commercial material or not. Not something I casually listened to, essentially a best-of compilation of all Prince's bootleg material up to that point. Some may argue there's never such a thing as too much Prince, but,
I can get you what you want, anything at all. All you gotta say is please. Ask your mother, your sister, your brother. There'll never be another like me.
What do you get when Prince adapts to the electropop trend of the late 2000s? A fairly dated sounding pop album with only a few redeemable songs interspersed.
I'm willing to do the work. Do what I gotta do.
I really love the soul vibes on this album. However, there are its droll moments, especially when Prince has that stupid distortion to his vocals whenever he's reading some religious text. Love the organicness to this album, but the lyricism doesn't necessarily hold up as well.
As a matter of fact, I would've gave you back, but then he had a heart attack when you made him pack and said his shack without you would be better. See what it really means you.
Everything Hit and Run Phase 1 should have been. A modern 2010s pop album, one with Prince's unique flavor spilled all over it.
Baby knows she got the long dark legs. She got the
A decent pop album mixed with some duds and some really good songs. I do like the features off this album. Sheryl Crow and Gwen Stefani especially do a good job on their songs. However, the best off this album isn't too much to scream at if you ask me. Can you say overrated? It has its classics like the titular track and Delirious, but personally I'm just not a fan of its longer tracks, especially in the second half. The mixing also doesn't sound right, it's too poppy, not enough oomph in its sound compared to the earlier releases. A far better triple album than Crystal Ball. Only reason it's so low is because it's not as consistently good as the following albums. However, there are tons of different flavors and genres to explore throughout this album, so I'd give it a listen to see what you'd like out of it. This was Prince's commercial comeback, but honestly, it feels restrained compared to his funkier endeavors during the earlier part of the decade. Pretty decent track list, nothing too bad nor anything too great. Slightly forgettable 2000s pop rock album with a hint of gospel in its lyricism. Highlights include the rockin' guitar and funky Chelsea Rogers, two classics. The rest is a hit or miss collection of Prince making music about spirituality, the world around us, etc.
Don't play with me.
Underrated minimalist album from the late 90s. Some of the tracks are mainly acoustic, though he does spice things up occasionally with additional percussion and piano. Not a great album, but not a bad one.
To go our separate ways.
I find it very hard to hate this album. There's nothing to criticize, it's just a beautiful performance of Prince showcasing his raw artistic talent. If you have your doubts about Prince as a musician or artist, listen to this. You may find to respect him more.
Nothing's better than walking the sand, hand in hand with you.
Decent pop album from the year of our Lord 2010. Some pretty good tracks on the album like
Lavo
or Walk in Sand, but overall semi-forgettable track list. Super obscure funk pop album from the mid-2000s. It has a collection of web-exclusive songs Prince released during the earlier part of the decade. It has some very underrated material like Super Cute, Underneath the Cream, Vavoom, and My Medallion.
I'm working up a black sweat. I'm working up a black sweat.
Fairly experimental album with all sorts of different genres and sounds blended together. Some really great tracks include Black Sweat, the titular track, Lolita, and the party closer, Get on the Boat. I'm sort of iffy on the dated use of auto-tune and certain synths off this album, but overall I'd say it's a great blend of variety.
Shall I call you savior just the same? You know paradise.
Another collection of early 2000s Prince material. The Slaughterhouse boasts a slightly stronger lineup than its contemporary. It's a tad more electric and pop than funk, but great songs as Peace, Northside, Golden Parachute, and Hypno Paradise make up for the album's weaker spots. A mixture of electro rock, if that's even a thing, and funk. One of Prince's heavier albums, it features tons of really good underrated gems. The energy is really refreshing compared to most of his previous releases, and I'd argue it was an experiment gone right.
Today is the first day, the best of my life.
Super obscure late 90s Prince album, though one with material spanned in a decade. It was released to fulfill his contract requirements with Warner Brothers, and honestly, I'd argue it's a consistently strong lineup of material. Excellent vocals from Prince off this album, he shines well, especially on those tracks with the violins. A stepping stone, considering this was the first album Prince opened up his lower register. Really good funk album, love Controversy, Jack You Off, and Let's Work. Definitely one of his funkier albums. I'd give it a listen if you're into that type of music. A classic. His 1979 sophomore album features classics as Bambi, Feel For You, and of course, I Wanna Be Your Lover. I love the sort of disco pop instrumentation off this album, though some of the slower ballads can be a tad boring. Other than that, it's a really good album. Slightly underrated follow-up to Prince's magnum opus. Features a more psychedelic sound, with an emphasis more so on synths than guitars. Definitely one of Prince's more pop-friendly albums, with songs like Raspberry Beret, Paisley Park, and Pop Life. Super underrated electric jazz album from Prince. I'd argue this is vastly superior to its follow-up News. Definitely give this one a listen if you like instrumentals, jazz, and even if you're not interested, at least give my favorite track Expectation a listen. You won't be disappointed. I'm gonna be honest, I didn't like this album that much when I first heard it. The sampling, the experimental instrumentals, it just didn't really click with me. But re-listening, I gotta say this is a vastly underappreciated album. Definitely some great songs in there. I feel like this would be a lot higher if it was a tad bit shorter. It's consistently great throughout the first half, with great features and the awesome introduction to the new power generation. But there are some duds towards the end that keep this album from being higher. Super underrated rock album from Prince. Has a bit more of a psychedelic sound in certain songs like Colonized Mind, Wall of Berlin, and Crimson and Clover. You definitely need to give this one a listen. It's easily one of his best later releases.
Enough is enough. It's time for love. It's time to hear. It's time to hear the guitar play.
An excellent mixture of jazz and pop. Prince really set the bar high on his sequel to the dreaded hit and run Phase 1. Just a very classic Prince album all around. It perfectly embodies everything great about his later music. Prince's debut is criminally underrated. So many great gems off this album. In Love, I'm Yours, Just As Long As We're Together, My Love Is Forever, and of course, a mild hit, Soft and Wet. Just a really great album with vibes of disco, funk, and a tad bit of rock. I used to love this album. It's arguably the reason I ventured into Prince's discography. A great electro-pop album, an example of New Jack Swing in its prime. Whether it's the hits or deep cuts, this album is almost entirely great through and through. Excellent, excellent album. If you never heard this before, please give it a listen. I love so much off this album, you wouldn't believe. P Control, Endorphin Machine, Billy Jack Bitch. It's just such a great album. If anyone doubts Prince's abilities on the guitar, make them listen to this. Just a really great rock album through and through. Arguably Prince's most rock-friendly work. Only Lotus Flower can really compare to the work on this album.
This is what it sounds like when the doves cry.
Alright, I know this is a tad higher than most might expect. It's a great album, an album full of timeless classics like Let's Go Crazy, the titular track, Darlin' Nikki, and of course, When Doves Cry. The deep cuts just aren't as good as the upcoming album's deep cuts, that's all.
Love cry, all the boys, grab a girl, get down.
So I know this album has a notorious reputation for not being that good of an album. Personally, I think it's just an excellent funk album, from front to back. No, it's not commercially friendly, save for maybe When Two Are in Love, but it's just an underrated classic. I really overlooked this thing when I first heard it. Excellent pop and funk album, through and through. The lo-fi quality of the production arguably enhances Prince's talents. Hey, it's another album I slept on when I first heard it. Like 3121, this album is incredibly well rounded with all sorts of variety in different genres. However, Prince amped up the quality on this album with his excellent performances, and keen eye for experimenting with different sounds from the time. One of the most flawless albums in Prince's discography, Sign of the Times is a notorious classic, due in part to his excellent songwriting and wide variety of musical styles. Some of my all-time favorites come from this album. Hot Thing, You Got the Look, If I Was Your Girlfriend. It's just such a classic album, deep cuts or hits.
Sometimes it snows in April.
This very cohesive album experiments with an eccentric 80s pop sound and traditional piano pieces and love ballads. It's just such an overwhelmingly excellent album. Not filled with as much variety as the previous two works, but enough to give this album an incredibly unique, incredibly Prince charm.
I'm going down to Alphabet Street. I'm gonna crown first girl that I meet. I'm gonna talk so sexy. She'll want me from my head to my feet.
Incredible pop and funk album, just incredible. Glam Slam, Alphabet Street, Dance On, Anastasia, just amazing through and through. Not a single fault with this album, this is one of Prince's highest highs.
You should do that, girl. You should do that, baby.
The best Prince album, without a doubt. One of his most underrated gems. It's a tad sexier album, emphasized through his songwriting, the wave transitions, and the final track. But honestly, I just adore this album's unique blend of funk and R&B. Come is one of my favorite albums of all time, easily Prince at his height. So there we have it, all
39.
of Prince's albums ranked. Prince was an amazing musician. His work stands the test of time to this day. There will never be another artist like Prince. He had a creative ethic unlike any other. If you've heard Prince's popular stuff but haven't heard his underrated material, definitely check out Come, Expectation, Hit and Run Phase 2, and Lotus Flower. If you're entirely new to Prince, I'd recommend listening to my top 14 albums. They're my personal favorites. If you've listened to most, if not all his discography, how would you rank it? Comment your list below. What are your favorites and least favorites?
All good things they say never last. And love, it isn't love until it's past.